VCs. A lot of finance majors here. I'm not the lecturer, but the point is, it's a different kind of capital. People call it risk capital. So you need the universities to do the research, you need the businesses to grow it, and you need sort of the mentorship. So a lot of these startups, when they apply for funding, even if I came and said, look, I've got money, I'll fund it, they're like, who are you? They're not just looking for money. Money is almost abundant in today's world because capital is global. You see some of the VCs in Silicon Valley investing in Indonesia. So money is rarely ever the issue. The issue oftentimes is mentorship. So a lot of times the people who sit on the VC boards have themselves started 10, 20, 30 companies. So they can guide you. They can say, this is what you do, these are the steps. So that's the thing. So these are some of the institutions, right? The government incentives, the funding, the entrepreneurs, the universities, and things like this. But I think entrepreneurship requires more than this. And this is why a lot of the companies or the countries who have tried to copy and replicate the Silicon Valley in their country have failed. It's because while they built the institutions, they don't build a culture. And this is what I think entrepreneurship is really about, it's ultimately about, right? It's really a mindset. When we think about entrepreneurship, people think about money, business, starting a business. And that's true, but I think entrepreneurship is more than that. Innovation is a mindset. It's not really how you apply it to a business. It's not creating the next iPhone or the next... Sorry, it's my iPhone. It's not about creating the next iPhone. It's about how you apply that mindset of innovation, of risk-taking, of responding to change, of growth, right, to everything that you do. Whether it be government, whether it be education, whether it be media, whether it be...
I think it's your girlfriend, John.
That's funny, I don't have one. I don't know how to turn it off.
I'll give it to Peter here.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Peter.
It's not the iPhone.
He wants you to turn it off.
So let's go back. It's not about institutions. It's about a culture. It's about a mindset. Right? And applying that mindset in everything that we do. So, for example, how can entrepreneurship be applied in government? One example that comes to mind is when SDY cut oil subsidies in 2005. Now you may ask, how is innovation? Well, it's innovation because I think it fits the characteristics. You have to remember that in 2005, right, oil was, we had budgeted for our budget at 35 bucks a barrel. That's our assumption. I think oil at that point was about 75, if not close to $100 a barrel. So our budget was about to burst, right? But presidents before SDY who tried to cut fuel subsidies have lost popularity and have eventually lost their jobs, right? And many times, I won't name names, but presidents before that, yeah, we're going to cut subsidies, but they announce it about 3 months before they leave office. So they leave the burden on their predecessors, on their successors, right? But SDY did it. It was a risk. He knew it needed to happen. Otherwise, our budget would fall apart. And he took it. And he was able to explain to the people why this is necessary, why it's not against the poor to cut fuel subsidies. And I think today we are a better country because of it. I think today if we had never cut fuel subsidies, I believe that we would never have received the sort of the Moody's and all these credit rating upgrades that we have today. So I think we are in a much more stable macroeconomic fiscal position thanks to some of the policies that were taking place back then. So that's one example of entrepreneurship. So another example is when, how can we apply, for example, entrepreneurship in education? Traditionally, education in Indonesia has been one of the most heavily regulated industries in Indonesia. And I think there are a lot of laws which, quite frankly, I'm not so sure why they're on the books. Things like, why can't a foreign university open a school in Indonesia? Right? Many schools are in Singapore. In fact, that's great. It attracts a lot of people to Singapore because of that. And we lose a lot of our students because they go to Singapore because of that. Hong Kong does it. Korea does it. Why can't we do it? Oftentimes, the reason is so-called nationalism. What does that mean? Right? So those of you who are involved in education, who are in the Ministry of Education, maybe this is something you can do, right? How can we innovate? How can we achieve a breakthrough in education? And that's really what entrepreneurship is about. It's about taking risk. It's about responding to change. It's about achieving a breakthrough, wherever you are. So that's my second point. First point, institution. Second point, culture. So the question then becomes, how do we achieve this culture? If culture is necessary to achieve it, how do we get that culture? I think there are a lot of ways to do it. I'd like to suggest one, which is education. I'm a big believer of education, and I think education is probably the single biggest determining factor in determining what we can do in the future. I think we need a system of education that is geared and designed for the kind of country and economy that we want 25 years from today. Let me give you an example. In the US today, the US has to become a services economy, right? It has to, and it wants to. It can't compete when it comes to creating low-cost goods with China and India. So it has to be a high value-added society. But while the government believes that, the businesses believe that, the education system is still geared and designed to produce students for the industrial society. So there's a mismatch between the kind of students and the skills that they have when they graduate and what the businesses need. So while there's huge unemployment, there's also some kind of businesses that say we can't find workers. So we want to hire foreign workers. And then the government says you can't hire foreign workers. So they put all sorts of visa restrictions. And this is a challenge because there's a mismatch between what businesses want and what schools are producing. So if we apply this to Indonesia, but looking forward, right? If we want to become an innovative country, if we want to become a country of entrepreneurs and science and all this, is our education system preparing ourselves to do that? Or will 25 years from now, will we wake up and realize that there's a big mismatch between what we want to be and what we are? And I think our education system is not there yet. And that's where we need to move. You know, we need to move, and we need to not only improve on access, but also the quality of it, and also the equity, pemerataan. Jadi akses, kualitas, dan pemerataan. So these three things, it's important. And so this is just some of my thoughts on entrepreneurship, what I think needs to happen. We need to build the institutions. We need to have a culture, and that culture is premised on a strong system of education. So we take a step back and we take a look at all the global challenges that our world faces today. Well, what are some? Right? Global warming, right? Food shortages, democracy, terrorism, all these issues, right? Indonesia has such a critical role to play. We talk about food shortages. We are some of the largest producers of some of these stuff. We talk about the metals and minerals shortages. You kidding me? We produce all kinds of stuff in our soil, right? We talk about democracy and terrorism. We're a country that has proven that it can work. Islam can coexist, and is not at odds with democracy. You know, we talk about what other issues? The economy, right? And how do we manage a right fiscal position in this world where all countries are defaulting? We're a country that our debt to GDP ratio is one of the lowest, 25%. That's really, I think, one of the lowest in the world. So we can, you know, I think we have a big role to play. And in many ways, Indonesia is probably the most invisible country in the world. But it doesn't have to be. And you know, one of the things that I've really enjoyed over the last day here is meeting all of you. Some of you come from academia, finance, VC, lawyers, professors. We really have a cross-section of the entire sort of Indonesian population. So imagine if all of us can take this spirit of entrepreneurialism, this mindset of innovation and achieving breakthroughs, and bring it back for our own workplaces, right? I think we can really make Indonesia a better place. And this is not rhetorics. I really think so. I think this event here, organized by Dino and Monica, it's a great event. I think it has a great multiplier effect. We come here for a weekend, we go away, we bring this new mindset, we apply that mindset to everything that we do, and I think Indonesia will have a big impact on the world, on all spheres of our lives. So, you know, with that, I'd like to just end. I'd like to thank Dino, Marosa, Peter Gonta, and the rest of you for this opportunity to share. I'm really looking forward to hearing some of your thoughts. Thank you.